I'm gonna ask you guys, right? I'm gonna ask, what do we need to work on to get better? What do you guys want to work on to get better, right? I can think of the things where I need to be stronger at. I can think of things that I've really improved over the last 3 years, right? All of those things are areas where we can get better. And that's what we're here to do when we train, aren't we? We got to address the need first. And what I'll do is I'll sit down. I've asked Mark, I asked Chris the Warrior Washington what they needed to improve on early. I asked head coach Jesse Huerta what we needed to improve in order for us to get better. What do you think? Right? It was kind of like having a meeting where everybody says, here's our objective and our goal for the next competition. Here's where we need to thrive, and here's why. And the answers were always similar, but never exactly the same, interestingly enough, between what I saw, coach, and fighter saw, between what I see and you see if I meet some folks like you inside the gym. But we need to come to some kind of agreement on what I expect, what you expect, and how we're going to get there. How do we assess that, right? It's all about doing looking at it and saying, okay, for competition, one of these 5 areas needs to be enhanced for. Is it the athletic? This is what unloading is. It's athletic, right? Do we have? I've heard of fighters who've had a full program. Could have been improved, but they have a full program, and getting across the finish line was where they excelled when they met with a strength coach. So training with Mark Storm Salgado was a pleasure, and he was a great guy to work with. Is someone that I knew before I started training him as a professional. I trained with him before that, and I got to know him. He is a great guy. I remember how of in great shape he just was when I first got to meet him. His work ethic was there, and one of the cool things was how he came into the gym to work with me early when we met, before the stakes of competition were even that high, which told me that he, like we said before, was a stay ready versus a get ready. And look, I don't want to say that one's better than the other. I will say that it is always easier to stay ready than it is to get ready. And I always thought that was, I have a high admiration if you're willing to stay ready, because it's hard to stay ready, isn't it? There's also a lot of honor in getting ready, training hard, and changing habits quickly. But Mark was an exceptional athlete and has probably still a 40 beats per minute heart rate. He is unique in that way alone. Because of his frame, it was always great to train him in different ways. And all of the fighters that I've ever trained with, and it's going on, maybe about close to 10 now, specifically just boxers, they exhibit a tremendous mental fortitude, but also inside the gym, rarely, if ever, are they the ones to stop doing the exercises, right? And Mark was no different. I don't think I've ever seen him stop midway through. Finding that extra gear or finding a new tempo within our sets always been kind of a keystone or a cornerstone of our workouts. Same thing with Chris Washington, where it's like, I know what type of tempo I can sustain. I'm going to go right there and do it. And so working with him is always great. Pre-camp, we wanted to work on his power and strength, sustaining power throughout. So that's what we did. I remember early on, like it says here, I think we did 15 to 8 timed intervals for about 2 minutes. We did some straight up traditional weightlifting, and then we supersetted it with kettlebell flows and active rest with bodyweight flows. And I remember some of those bodyweight flows being exceptionally long, 2, 3, 4 minutes, or not 4, but 2 or 3 minutes. And just, you really have to just be focused and grind, for 2 or 3 minutes after you lift weights, cleans, back squats, bench press. As we'll get into later, there is a kind of a design, a grand design to why we play a set of exercise out in that way. But he was exceptional at staying focused and just kind of doing the body weight. Very, very exceptional. And so we came up with a game plan, all right? And here's what it was at that time. Hypertrophy, and what I said was we're going to do 30 90 60s. And that is it's more than a round. All right? So we're talking a minute and a half, 30 seconds. So it's 3 minutes. That's a round of boxing, right? And this 60 was typically a bodyweight flow, all right? And it says it right here. This is AR. AR means active recovery or active rest versus passive rest, where you literally don't do anything. Maybe you just go grab some water or you go grab some fuel, fruit, right? We were doing a lot of kettlebell flows, unilateral moves. We were lifting once per week, and this is pre-camp, all right? 30 seconds of power, some duration of strength-based stuff, and this was more than likely at the time traditional weightlifting. With Chris the Warrior Washington, things were pretty different, actually. It had a different feel. Of course, everybody has a different feel when you're inside the gym, inside of training camp with them, but our training was exceptional also, but it was focused differently, despite both men having similar goals to win their fights, right? Of course, both are not the same. They're different ages, different backgrounds, etc. So, Chris the Warrior Washington, magnanimous dude. People like to be around him, I can say. And he told me how much he worked out when he was younger and started boxing, and how as he gets older, in his 30s, he trains smartly, way more smart. And I think that that's the greatest idea ever, is to train in a way that's actually a lot more smart versus just hammering away, right? I think that that's a consensus in all circles of strength and conditioning. I'll never forget, it was all about the legs, right? With the Warrior, you wanted those legs to be strong. You wanted to fight moving in many different directions. He's got great power. And I learned a couple of things about Warrior as we were training. His reflexes were very sharp. He was very quick on his feet. And when he started getting going and really found a rhythm inside of his training, and we'd actually talk about it a little bit. When he started getting that rhythm going inside of his training, it was like he had an extra gear. It was really awesome to see, to be around, to train. We talked about it. We talked about hitting that zone a lot. That's actually what I look for. Ever since I trained with him, that's something that I look for in a lot of my competitors and fighters. It's like we're looking for that sweet spot. Okay? So, by the end of the camp, he looks shredded. We did a lot of body weight to get warm with him. Wanted to alleviate some low back things that he had. And I think that training in other modalities, maybe in somewhat more careless modes. We got some back issues, right? Maybe it was improper form. Hopefully, even to this day, I hope all of that is in the past. But we did compound movements, right? So a lot of med ball work, plyo. We did depth jumping, compound movements, not compound lifting. And specifically, I've never lifted weights with the Warrior, right? As opposed to Mark Salgado. Never lifted weights with him. Okay? But watched him get in tremendous fight shape and win. Both men winners, by the way, right? And I think that that's important to mention. Inside the ring, outside the ring, winners, right? So I trained a few other people. Golden Gloves, other fighters who maybe they don't win trophies, belts, but they compete. The winning percentage on them very high. And I hope they hold our sessions or the way that we train together in some sort of remembrance or regard, because it was very, or arete, as I put, because it was great. It was positive, and it helped form a lot of my positive training going forward. But we're not talking only about fighters. We're talking about competitors. Over time, I realized there's a way to train many people, even if they have no designs on fighting. And it's true. I started to train people like they were high level competitors, whether they wanted to win some kind of belt or otherwise. And that got me into a space in my life where I found a balance between treating everyone like an athlete and then also eliciting from them the feeling of being athletic, right? It's really fun, you know? Some people have a fiery competitor within, and I want you guys to think about how much you do too. But inside my gym, everyone became a competitor and an athlete over these many years. And these are just some of the people. I still train with her to this day. Very competitive, always willing to push physical boundaries. Literally competitors who have been college athletes. I put 1 and 2 because 2 different men named Cam came through the gym to work, and both have designs on fighting and other types of competition. We're highly competitive. Fighters, people who went on to train inside of boxing and MMA, distance running, marathons, duathlons. Many people who still work very hard to this day. And what I noticed about all these people is they like to compete. They love being competitors, and that their events gave them a time to focus on what they wanted to do and get through. And that's what made them competitors. That's what made them fighters in their own right. All of these people are just some of all of the great people who I've trained over the years who had that fighting edge and spirit. And a lot of these people, like I have a couple soccer players here, most of them did different stuff. Competitors have events like fighters. We have limited time to do it, but we want to train hard. We have work, we have family, we have kids, we have dinner, we have drop-offs, pickups, laundry, all this, boss, deadline, meetings. Like to train hard, my friends, right? Fighters, same thing. Only they're getting paid or they're getting trophies for it. You got the downtime. Competitors also burn out. We want to lose body fat. Fighters like to cut weight. So there's a lot of parallels that we can draw. Okay? Competitors and coaches, right? So you have events. Coaches look to train fighters, competitors for these events. All right. You're going to go ahead and create programs. You want to avoid burnout. Okay. Coach's job is to stay motivated. So whether you're a coach and you have a fighter or someone that you care about, maybe it's you're the person that's an athlete and you want to design your own programs, you can customize this work because it's very flexible. If there's a microcycle, which we're going to learn as a day of training, we can shift it around so that you get exactly what you need if you're a competitor of any description, or if you're a coach or a friend of someone that's competing, right? Very important stuff. Very important stuff. So if we did the power rack quarter squat, maybe we shifted into jump squats. Half get-ups, maybe we just do get-ups. We have Pendlay rows, maybe we do kettlebell work. You'll catch the press. Split squats and box step-ups can be exchanged for trap bar deadlifts and using the barbells to split squats. I mean, just the amount of stuff that you can do is nearly infinite. Okay? But we need that base and the base program to show us how, right?